Meeting of the Zoning Board of Review for tonight, which is Tuesday, November 14th, 2023. Roll call, please.
Mr. Nigerian?
Here.
Mr. DeZio?
Present.
Mr. Mostyn?
Here.
Mr. Marcantonio?
Here.
Ms. Burlinghoff?
Here.
And Ms. Benoit?
Here.
Thank you. Item 3, disclosure of no compensation or pension credits received by board members. Item 4, disclosure and notice zoning board of review members shall disclose any ex parte communications about any contested or material adjudicatory facts or opinions concerning the merits of any application before the zoning board of review. Item 5, approval of the minutes from October 10th, 2023. I know everybody had them in enough time to review. If there are any revisions or corrections. If not, we can have a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from October 10th, 2023.
Second?
Second.
All right, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item 6, new business. A, ZBR 23-10. Application for a dimensional variance by Roland G. and Bethany Comeau, 35 Fountain Street, North Smithfield. This is a AP Lot 67. Applicant is seeking relief from Section 5.5.1 District Dimension Regulations of the Zoning Ordinance to have less than the required rear yard setback, which requires a dimensional variance. This lot is in an RU20 district. The applicant is proposing to construct an addition to the rear of the existing structure. Are either Roland or Bethany here? Okay. What I'll do is I'll just explain briefly the process. First, I have to put into evidence all the information that we have, and then I'll ask one or both of you to go to the podium, and you can explain what you're requesting. We have all that information, so we don't need a full education, but you can do a quick summary. So, and then we go into deliberation and we decide whether or not to grant your request. So P1 will be the standard North Smithfield Zoning Board of Review application. It's titled ZBR 23-10, dated for today's meeting, and it's P1. That's inclusive of the normal number of pages. P2, 10 in total?
Yep.
P2 will be the abutters, the 200-foot abutters list, which is dated September 6th of 2023, and that's 2 pages. We'll call P3 the 200 radius map. It has a date of 9/15/23. It's inclusive of 3 pages. And it was prepared by Avant-Garde Design Group, Avant-Garde Design Group, Pawtucket. P4 is the executrix deed. It was recorded at North Smithfield Town Hall on September 29th of 2010, and that's 2 pages. P5 we'll call the pictures. It's actually 1 picture with 3 pictures on it, 1 page with 3 pictures on it. We'll call that P5. That is the address. You have a front, a rear, and 1 side elevation. P6 we will call the architecturals, which again prepared by Avant-Garde Design, Pawtucket, dated 9/7/23. A 1.0, A 1.1, and A2. And this shows the existing floor plan, the proposed floor plan with the relief requested, and the rear elevation, I believe, on the last page, of the side and the rear elevations proposed. P7 will be the site plan. It's titled Addition Plan. It was submitted by Insight Land Surveyors, North Smithfield, a sheet 1 of 1. It's dated 8/22 of 23, and it has the stamp and seal from Mark N. Nyberg. His registration number is 1797. It was signed, but the original is signed. Okay. So we understand you're requesting a dimensional variance to the rear of the property. If one of you would like to get up, feel free, go to the podium, please. And just give your names slowly so that the secretary can record.
Sorry, Bethany and Roland Comeau.
And just to confirm the address, even though we know it, but for the record.
Sure, 35 Fountain Street, North Smithfield.
Okay, go ahead and walk us through what you're requesting.
Sure, we're asking for a dimensional variance of 5 feet 3 inches in order to add a small addition to the rear of our kitchen. The addition would accommodate a larger dining area, a small laundry room, and a small mudroom. We live in a 1960s ranch, and it doesn't have a dedicated dining area, so this would allow us a little more space and functionality in the kitchen.
Okay. Anything else?
No, we're also going down to do a full foundation and also add the additional square footage onto our finished basement at the same
basement,
time.
yeah.
So, yeah.
You know, I think you noted that in your application. Just to clarify, it looks like that is the retaining wall the property line plus or minus?
Yes, yep.
Okay. And it appears from, that's why this map was so good, the third page, which was the aerial radius map. It's fair to say that the property behind you, the house is very, very much, it's right off of Mendon Road.
Yes,
And his or her, their property goes all the way back,
right.
and it's undeveloped.
Right.
So you have very little, if any. Is that heavily wooded, or what is that?
Somewhat.
Yes.
Yeah, the end of it is wooded, but there's also, area with
Open.
grass that she comes down and mows every once in a while. But we don't
Okay.
even really have a sight line of the house from our backyard. So.
Because that retaining wall, as I drove by, it's a good 4 to 6 feet high, isn't it?
No.
It's not that,
No.
high, but
No.
the mound
There's
behind it,
overgrowth.
okay. But there's no direct line of sight,
No.
No.
okay. And I don't know if any of your butters are here, or?
No.
Okay, all right. And I guess from the architecturals, it's, pretty clear that you're adding the dining area, and then you're adding the mudroom, which gives you what, access just from the backyard?
Yes, yep.
Okay.
In one of those photos, there's a concrete patio on the back of the house, and the addition would pretty much be the footprint of that concrete patio, just to give you a visual.
Oh, and where that is, the back view?
Yes,
Where the
yep.
door is?
Yep.
Okay. Because that door currently is exactly where you're gonna push it out?
Right,
Yes.
yep.
Okay, any other questions for the applicant, members?
I just had one, which was, if I'm reading the plans properly, it seems that you could put your addition to I'm just gonna say it this way, if you're facing your house to the left side and not need a variance at all. But I also saw where your cabinets are inside the house. So I'm taking that to move the cabinets and not ask for the variance is going to substantially increase the price of your project.
Yes. We were attempting to use as much of the original kitchen as we could. You know, there obviously will need to be some remodeling done, but if we could keep somewhat of the existing layout, and that's why it was suggested that we just add on to the back rather than add on to the
Plus,
side.
on the side is also our well.
Oh,
Yeah, the
okay.
well's there. And if you go 20 feet, I mean, if you went 22 feet, you have a 20-foot side setback.
Right.
You're only 41
Shit like
feet.
that.
Yeah, but then I think,
Then you're close to the well.
yeah, and architecturally, it's not our concern, but I think architecturally it would look a much odder shape than, you're essentially making a modified L, right? You're making a T.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Because you have a bump out in the front, and then you're essentially having a bump out in the back. And I think, you know, from a practical point of view, you'd have to relocate all the plumbing and all the
Right.
cabinetry, and to what end, so. Any other questions for the applicant? No. Okay. That's fine. So we'll make a motion to close the applicant's presentation.
I'll make a motion to close the applicant's presentation.
Second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so what we do now is we just go into deliberation. We can't talk to you any longer, but I'll just give you an explanation so you understand. In that application that you filled out was the criteria that you should have read and filled out, and that's what this board needs to do to substantiate granting relief of any kind. In this instance, it's a variance for dimensional. So I'll go over it and give my thoughts, and then members can add in as needed. 9.3.1A, that the hardship from which the applicant seeks relief is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land or structure and not to the general characteristics of the surrounding area, and is not due to a physical or economic disability of the applicant. We know from testimony and from the drawings provided that existing house was built with a eat-in kitchen from the 60s based on, again, the plans that show existing conditions and the testimony of the applicant, which would make the structure unique to some extent. We have no information on other houses in the area. The lot sizes seem to be similar, but it is kind of unique to not have a dining area. Any additional comments? 9.3.1B, that the hardship was not the result of any prior action or of a desire of the applicant to realize financial gain, and we know there's no prior action, and there's no immediate financial gain. The argument of whether the value of the house would increase is somewhat moot because that's a future consideration. Anything you do to improve would increase the value. Any comments, additions? Item C, 9.3.1C. That the granting of the requested variance will not alter the general character of the surrounding area or impair the intent or purpose of this zoning ordinance or the comprehensive plan upon which this ordinance is based. As we had kind of discussed with some of these, the suggestion of proposing that it be moved, it's a relatively small addition to the rear. We know that for members that drove by or just looked at the visual, there is a noticeable grade increase as you go to the rear, a wall and then a grade elevation change. I don't believe, other than the immediate abutters, would have limited visibility of the upgrade from the street because the house is set a little bit back. And I don't think there's anything about the proposed addition that would alter, quote, the general character of the surrounding area or impair the purpose or intent of the ordinance or the comp plan. And as we kind of noted again, the house, that property that abuts it is a long and narrow lot, and its frontage is on Mendon, and the house is very close to Mendon, therefore there is no issue with that owner. Barely has, the abutter has a closer visual contact, so even in that regard, as it relates to property lines and setback lines, so. Anything? Okay. Item D, which is 9.3.1D. The relief granted is the least necessary. We see it's, 10 by 22, and that incorporates the mudroom. And I don't know, to my mind, I don't think it's excessive or unreasonable. It would appear to be a reasonable
Yeah, I
size.
think
I
they
agree with that.
set forth in the application that the amount of relief they're requesting is 5 feet 3 inches.
Yeah.
It's not really,
Yeah, it's not a significant amount. The encroachment, if you will, onto the setback. And usually, as you note, the least relief is usually a function of, well, how much relief are you requesting? So, item E, 9.3.1E, that granting the variance requested will not confer upon the applicant any special privilege that is denied by this ordinance to other land structures or buildings in the same district. It's always a very subjective statute, so. Given that most houses have a dining room, the relief, if granted, wouldn't appear to represent a particularly special privilege. Agreed? 9.3.2 is not applicable. That's for a use variance. That's 9.3.2A. So 9.3.2B is in granting a dimensional variance that the hardship that will be suffered by the owner of the subject property if the dimensional variance is not granted shall amount to more than a mere inconvenience. The fact that the use may be more profitable or that a structure may be valuable after relief is granted shall not be grounds for relief. I think that's going to change too. This verbiage as a side note after the first of the year. It would appear that if the relief were not granted, that the hardship that we're defining as the lack of a dining room, assuming a growing family or just the convenience of everyday life, would amount to more than a mere inconvenience. Given that the structure was built with an eat-in kitchen, I'm sure they've dealt with this issue since the day they moved in. So I think it meets that standard. It appears to me, anyway. Okay. Anything further on the deliberations? Mike or Chris, was somebody able to draft a motion? Okay, do we have why don't you, so we'll take
so should I make a motion
well,
to
let's,
close deliberations?
yeah, let's close first,
All
yeah.
right, I make a motion to close deliberations.
Second,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll entertain a motion if you're ready. The motions are always made in the affirmative, just that's the way we do it.
I'll make a motion to approve the requested variance ZBR 2310.
Dimensional variance.
Yeah, I said dimensional
Did
variance.
you say? Okay.
I thought I did.
I don't know, I was listening, I didn't know if I heard it,
All
so
right, to approve dimensional variance ZBR 2310.
probably say dimensional variance request.
Okay.
Do we have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay. You want to read it one more time, just for the record?
Approval for a dimensional variance request for application ZBR 2310.
Okay, thank you. We have the second, so roll call vote, please.
Mr. Najarian,
Yes.
Mr. DeZiel,
Yes.
Mr. Mostyn,
Yes.
Mr. Antonio, Ms. Berlinghoff,
Yes.
Ms. Benoit.
Yes.
How many do we need? We only need the,
4.
yeah, we only need the 4, yeah, okay.
You got 2 extra.
Best of luck.
I have a meeting at the gym and I hate it. So I know what you're going through. The house was built in the 60s. Oh, man. Hey. Well, you didn't build one.
Okay, just 1 minute so we can push and pull some papers.
Good luck. Good luck.
Okay, we'll go on to item 6B, which is ZBR 23-11. Application for dimensional variance by Aaron Lawrence, 37 Laprie Road. Laprie, is that how it's pronounced? North Smithfield. Lot is AP 006, lot 202. Applicant is seeking relief from section 5.5.1 district dimensional regulation to have less than the required front yard setback, which requires a dimensional variance. This lot is also in an RU20 zoning district. The applicant is proposing to construct an attached garage to the existing structure. Okay, I assume you're Aaron? Okay. So I'll do the same, we'll do the same thing that we just did with the previous applicant. We'll enter all of what you've submitted into evidence. Then you can come forward and explain your proposal, and then we'll go from there. So P1 again will be, we need to, here it is. The title is on another page. Okay. P1 will be ZBR 2311, and that's a standard North Smithfield building and zoning application, 10 pages. P2 would be the, looks like the 200-foot radius. There's no title on there, it's just a single sheet. So we'll call that P2. It shows all of the lot sizes and the parcel numbers. There's no stamp or no other documentation. P3 would be the list of abutters, 200-foot abutters list. This was prepared by CAI Tech from North Smithfield, so it's dated 10/30/23. That's 2 pages. P4 would be the warranty deed, which is stated that it was received on March of '04 by the town. And that's 2 pages. Exhibit A is attached. We'll call that part of the P4. P5 is inclusive of 2 pages of photographs that are not titled or dated of the existing property. 2 front elevation, all 3 are front elevations from different angles. And a 3rd picture is a architectural rendering of what appears to be the proposed garage addition. That's P5. P6 is a sheet of paper. It looks like it's the property blown up with a handwritten rectangle with a proposed L on the bottom, so it has the rectangle of the house in the red color, and a green color showing what appears to be the proposed addition with handwritten or printed dimensions, no stamp, no engineer, no date, so. Okay, why don't you come forward, if you will. Again, raise, we don't need to raise their hand, but just speak slowly so that the secretary can correctly get your name into the record.
My name is Aaron Lawrence of 37 Lapry Road.
Okay, well, I think, right off the bat, there's some issues here that I think really have to be addressed. As you could see from the previous application, who we just entertained and approved, they submitted a stamped site plan that proved the location of the structure and showed the proposed addition in very clear language and visual so that members can see it and absorb it and understand it. I made a list of questions that I might as well ask you now because frankly, I don't think we have enough information to, we can, don't get me wrong. If you say that this is what you want us to rule on, then we will. But if I were to hint strongly, the information provided, I do not believe in my mind, gives me enough information. We have an obligation to the town and we have an obligation to you. You're asking for relief, but we have to represent both. We have to give you your fair say, entertain what you're asking, but we also have to be true to the rest of the residents to uphold the very statute and ordinance that you're requesting relief from. So, whenever we're dealing with a dimensional variance, I'll be frank and tell you that if you were a non-residential applicant, this meeting would have ended rather quickly because we would have told you we're not doing anything without site plan. And my concern is we got multiple things going on here. We've got the right rear corner. I have no way of confirming that the right rear corner is not non-conforming. Now, understand that if it were non-conforming and it's a pre-existing non-conformity, that's not a penalty to you, but we need to know that because there is a clause in the books that say that we're not supposed to just arbitrarily increase the size of a pre-existing non-conforming. We can, but we have to be able to substantiate it. And also the 30-foot, I have no idea what reference point you could have gotten the 30 from. You're askew to the property line, so that's certainly not a surveyor's measurement. It's your approximation, and while you may be correct, you also have your own interests in mind, which is you want us to grant you the relief. Thirdly, the house, it's a 25-foot front setback, and the house, to the eye, I mean, it's close enough that I would want to verify that the house is not non-conforming. And all of that can be done with a stamped site plan, zoning map provided by a professional engineer. Insight is in town, and that's who most people go to. So I think that's the first big thing. The other thing that comes to mind is there's some benefit to the fact that it appears to be a dead end, but when you look at the map, you'll see that there are multiple lots beyond where the pavement ends. So I think a question I would want to know is, does the town ever have any intention of, because half of those lots are landlocked. So is there any intention that that road would ever be continued? I don't know the answer to that. If it were, you're right on a corner of what would be a very busy street. If it weren't, then you're essentially at the end of a dead end. So I think that information, if we thought it was necessary, is something that could come from the planner or somebody else in town that would be able to speak to whether or not that road will ever be constructed. And And then I guess the other question is 7 to 10 feet, and you want a 22-foot garage. So almost by definition, you can't get any vehicle out of the garage without it being on the street. And that's another thing that we need to prove, because that creates a hazard, you know. So, and as you heard us, one of the criteria that the board always has to rule on is what's referred to as least relief necessary. And we've encountered this before. And so the question would be, how much of the 22 feet, you know, I'm assuming, was that in consultation with your builder?
Mhm.
How did you come up with the 22? He said that that's what you typically would need?
That's based on vehicle length that we're planning on putting in that garage,
And that would be a single vehicle.
single vehicle.
Okay, but see, you kind of made the point, right? If the single vehicle needs the 22 to comfortably park, now, obviously, that means a few feet in front, a few feet in back. But the large amount of that 22 is the vehicle. It will never be out of the garage before it's on the street.
Right.
So that's a, you know, that's a real concern that members typically raise in this regard, so. I don't know, my opinion is it might, we can do whatever you would wish, but my strong suggestion is that you, either we continue this and you go and you get an engineer. Don't, you know, if it's an expense and we still say no, that's just the consequence of us doing our job. I don't want to make you think in any way, shape, or form that I'm telling you very clearly in my mind, and I think members would agree, that we owe it to you and to the town to see this in writing from an engineer, to prove everything that you've said. And if it's all right, then the biggest issue that we'll have to debate is the 22-foot depth, and whether or not the road will ever continue, and if we feel that the hazard, you know, is too significant. So before you answer that, I was just curious, I saw you're a butter, it was at the, down the street and across, right?
Right,
He had a big pickup truck,
right.
but his garage is not, I mean, his truck was in front of the garage.
Right.
So you can see, if half of that truck had to come out before it left the garage, that's the quagmire. And, you know, one other reality we have to deal with is, if we were to say yes, you know, it's a fait accompli. There's, you know, other than somebody appealing it and saying, well, that was not a good decision. So then that structure will stay there, and if it's a hazard, it's a hazard. So we have to think forward. So I really would like to ask you if you could do one of two things. I don't want you to withdraw if you're willing, because then you'd have to re-advertise, right? If you continue, we don't have to re-advertise? Yeah, and what that means is that if we continue it, you willingly go back, we stop the process, you say you're gonna call the surveyor, and you're gonna come back with a stamped plot plan that shows the proposed addition and the zoning setbacks laid over. So that, and if you tell him you need a variance, all you have to do is talk to the zoning and building official. He can give you whatever verbiage you would need to tell the surveyor. If you come back with that, and if we say it's a date certain, then you don't have to re-advertise, so you don't have to spend more money. If you just withdraw, then when you come back, you have to re-advertise. So we're trying to save you some money if you withdraw, and we would have to guesstimate, though, what a date certain would be. Are you willing to do that?
Well, first off, I appreciate all the information that you're giving me, and it's given me a lot of insight. And you're speaking my language when you're saving me money, because having a conversation with Paul Carson from Insight, you know, about a preliminary site survey, you know, that's a $2,500 investment. Architectural drawings, whether or not those were necessary to get a ruling on this, was also another consideration. It was in the the list of things that I needed to provide. So I was concerned about being $5,000 in and no idea, no bearing on whether or not this could even happen.
No, we respect that, but we would always appreciate architectural drawings, but we have no jurisdiction to tell you whether we like siding, or we like clapboard, or
Sure.
we like vinyl, or we don't like the pitch of the roof. That's a building code, and that's you. It helps us so that little rendering is nice, because it lets the members picture it, but we're only concerned about distance and dimension. So the bare minimum you would need to submit to us to make our job much more efficient and allow us to rule in a more educated fashion would be a stamped site plan showing the zoning setbacks and the relief requested.
Sure.
And he will understand that.
Right.
So I just think that's in your best interest. It is an expense. And if you were denied, of course, it's an expense, so.
Sure. Knowing that,
If you went with what you're giving us, I think you can estimate what the outcome would be.
that's fair. The distance to exit the structure sounds like it's based on whether or not the road can be extended. Is that fair to say?
Oh, that was just my thought process. I wouldn't speak for the members. I think it's a concern for what.
Sure.
But if you got documentation from the planning board or the planner who would address the issue, will that road ever be built? Then that gives us additional information, because I think exiting a dead end and exiting a thoroughfare are two different things.
Sure, sure. One of the pictures I had in there showed the national wetlands in the survey, so that's what I believe stopped the future development of that area.
And that well may be.
Cherry Brook.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where's it shown?
Cherry Brook, oh, God.
Yeah, I'm backed up to Cherry Brook, so
It's in
it doesn't
the
show
back.
Cherry Brook itself on the pictures, but that's
Oh,
20 feet
wetland.
from the back of the house.
There it is.
So I'm pretty limited on which sides of the house I'll be able to actually put the structure.
No, I think we understood that going to the left side was not, I mean, there's a lot of space there,
Yeah,
but you only had the 30 feet, right? So you don't have that much extra.
Right,
space.
so I'm in danger of being in that side setback,
Yeah.
as well as dealing with DEM and the proximity to the Cherry Brook itself, and then the wetlands that go even beyond Cherry Brook.
And the reality that that area floods on
More so.
relative frequency.
Unfortunately, yes, I've lived through that a couple times now.
Well,
But,
any additional information that you can present to the board from a town official, if the planner gives you a memorandum that says that his opinion is X, Y, and Z with regard to that road ever being continued, then that's information for us. But what we don't want you to do is go there, come back and say, well, I talked to the planner and he said,
Right.
we need something from him or her that would say, this is our opinion,
So documentation from the planner, site survey.
I think,
Okay.
would
No, that would
anybody
do
want
it.
anything else? Okay. I think that's a reasonable request, and all you're doing is you're giving us as much beneficial information to help us make a decision, but by no means would anyone give you any assurances of
Sure.
what we're gonna do. We just need the information to do the right thing.
Sure.
Did you have any discussions with him as to how far back they were, or as far as scheduling?
I didn't. So,
Okay, with Christmas coming up, though, I mean, you're not gonna build this in this winter anyway, right? Or
I-
will you?
if we could, my builder is
He said he
capable
would,
of,
okay.
able to.
All right. Well, I think, now, can we, through council, can we continue a continuance, right?
Yeah, you continue as many times as you need to, as
Yeah.
long as you pick a date certain, and that saves you money on advertising, so that's.
Why don't
the
we
way
go with the holidays, why don't we go into January, because I doubt that, and if you happen to, we can't do it anyway sooner anyway, right?
yeah, we're
We're
appeal
already
in
at the
December.
14th, right? Vivian, where
I'm not sure what you're asking me. I know we have a,
The appeal.
a December 12th date, and that's it. After that, we have to go into January.
Oh, that's right, yeah. I don't think you're gonna get it done by the 12th. I don't, I mean, we can do that, we can continue it, but I don't know if that appeal might be, this is something different, but I think I wanna keep that, date clear for the appeal. I don't wanna,
We have to for the 45 days.
yeah. So we would have to be into January. So
January
it would either
9th.
be the 8th,
The 9th.
oh, the 9th, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
At some point, we have to approve the new meeting schedule. Do you have it? It's not in the agenda, so we can't approve it, but would that be a meeting date?
I believe it was.
Okay. Why don't we start with that, if you agree? We'll have a continuance to date certain of 1/9/24. And what you need to do is you need to stay in communication with the zoning official, either Vivian or Leo, and as soon as you get something, some schedule from Insight, if they're gonna do the work, if they believe that they can, you know, and we would need it at least a few days beforehand. If they think that they can do that, then let them know. If they think that they need another week, then we can continue it again
Sure.
without costing you money. But you don't wanna wait until the 8th and tell them that you can't have it, because you may be the only reason we're meeting, and, okay? Do we need a motion if he so electively withdraws or continue? Oh, no, we have to move to continue. Yeah. All right, are you in agreement?
Yes.
Okay. So, why don't we have a motion to continue ZBR 2311 to a date certain of 1/9/24?
I make a motion to continue the present application, ZBR 23-11, to January 9th, 2024.
Second?
I'll second the motion.
I don't think we need a roll call. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for your help.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, and we're closed, but did